over the side of the room. Question, I see you with the glasses and holding up your phone.
What does the J stand for in your name?
What do you want it to stand for? If you ask Christopher Savage, he'll tell you it stands for juicy. I started using the J as part of my career name, my stage name, my DBA, because where I live, Michael and Tatum are two very, very common names. They're even more common together, somehow. And seriously, there's like 20 Michael Tatums living within like 20 miles of me, so good luck, stalkers! Seriously, I feel like I've set up like a ton of I feel like we're all just one big tax shelter. But, so I started using the J because my first name, which is John, was a name I was given at birth. I was actually given quite a few names when I was born, but I legally changed to just John, Michael, and Tatum. But I started using the J because the very first show I did was Samurai 7. And the lead in Samurai 7 was my good friend, now good friend. At the time I had no idea who he was, but I fell in love with his voice, was Bruce Elliott, who played Klondike in the same show. How many people here are fans of Samurai 7 who have seen it? Oh, that's awesome. You're very, very cool. It's too few of you. All of you watch it. It's on television right now, as a matter of fact. It's really, really good. It's the first thing I ever did, and so my heart will always remember. There will always be a little Rikichi-shaped hole in my heart for not getting to do that show anymore. But our Bruce Elliott, I'm like, well, that's a classy name. And so when they asked me, look, what do you want to be credited as? I'm like, oh, let's put the J in front of mine. J. Michael Tatum. True story. When I got these glasses, not these, but the pair I had before, I went into it was like a 1-hour place. You go and you give your prescription, and then they're like, all right, come back an hour after you have lunch. I got these glasses, came back an hour later, and I guess there had been a shift change, so there was a different guy who was helping me, and he comes out, I'm like, yeah, that's John Michael Tatum. He's like, oh, here you go. He gives me all the information I gave him, and he gives me these glasses. And I put them on. They are indeed the frames I chose, but they're not my prescription. I can't see 2 feet in front of my face. And I'm like, oh no, this is ridiculous. These can't be my glasses. Like there's something wrong. So he's like, oh, I'm terribly sorry. Let me go check that out. And so he runs back behind the curtain. And as he's sitting there, as I'm sitting there waiting for him, I notice there's a gentleman on the other side of the store with his attendant having the same problem. I can't hear what's going on, but I just see this. And I'm thinking, oh man, their machines are screwing up, like the calipers are off or something. I guess the grinders are just screwing up everybody's glasses. Well, a few moments, indeed, my guy comes back out to their table. They all three confer and then go like this to me. They introduce, they're like, John Michael Tatum, meet John Michael Tatum. Is different, you chose the exact same phrase. We're only 2 years apart in age, and we sat there, and I'm like, do we have to fight now? He's like, I go by John. I'm like, I'll go by Michael. He's like, good. So that was a very long answer to what was a very simple question. So I hope that ended. Did you get John? John, that was that stands for John. People don't know what to call me because there's so many names to choose from. So now I just tell them the J stands for just Michael. Just Michael. But they don't get it. They laugh. This side of the room, you sir.
What do you want for Christmas?
What do I want for Christmas? I don't know. World peace, a lot of money. I don't know. I don't really. You know what I like to do for Christmas is I don't really like getting stuff because it's kind of awkward to get. It's weird, right? I mean, first of all, everyone I know in my family are really bad at giving me stuff that I want. And it's weird because my family always goes through this ritual every year of, I don't know what my mom or dad want for Christmas. They're like, they're boring. They're at that age. They're like, oh, I have everything too. Give me some VHS tapes. I'm like, no, Mom. I'm going to get you technology for Christmas. But we make Amazon wish lists for each other and for ourselves, and we email them to each other. And I'm thinking, what a terribly empty gesture these presents are, because it's like, Merry Christmas, don't get me anything, because what you're going to get me, I'll just spend that money on you anyway, and then I get it for myself, you get your present, we're all even, yay. It doesn't work like that. She's like, but I want to get you something, I want to wrap, like you said, want to go to the trouble of actually shopping and putting it in a box and wrapping it so I can destroy it and go, oh, thanks, that's what I was going to get for my phone. I like getting gifts on days where you're not spending gifts. I'm like, I don't know, it means more to me when you have to put thought behind it. It means more to me when someone I know or love is just walking down the street and sees something that just screams my name. And they go, oh, I used to have it. Not literally, that would be very awkward. Take this, I had to get this for you. Oh, shut up. I like because I think on the days where you're supposed to get, give gifts or whatever, it's not that it doesn't mean anything to me, but it just kind of seems like, it makes it much more stressful. Everyone's like, oh, I have to get him something, I have to get him something. So I don't like really doing anything for my birthday, but just getting together and having a few drinks with friends or doing something wild and crazy, but I don't necessarily like to give gifts or get gifts. So for Christmas, I tell my family, and I do this for them as well, we just donate to charities for each other. So I'll tell them, donate to your SPCA or Red Cross or something. Or I used to go with my dad all the time back when we used to do this. We'd go to soup kitchens and on Christmas Eve together or Christmas Day, and we kind of help out as much as we can. Because my dad's a carpenter, was for a long time before he does what he does now, which is causing tornadoes and earthquakes. Handy position to have because he can help rebuild. But yeah, we used to go and work on Habitat for Humanity and stuff like that when I was young, and I still try to do stuff like that. So I just try to encourage everyone I know and love to go out and do something meaningful for Christmas for me, if that's what they want to do. Take the time and money that you would spend getting me something that I will appreciate, but not as much as someone who has nothing would appreciate your effort in helping them. So that's my thing. You there?
Have you ever thought about cosplaying?
I thought about it. Since the man wearing bright yellow shoes. Yes, I thought about cosplay. I don't know what I would cosplay. I don't know that I have the terrible misfortune of playing really sexy characters. Well, I'm misfortunate. Like my body can never live up to that archetype. It's just not possible. I would love to cosplay Sebastian, but I would be a... I would be... Thank you. I'm working on the abs. It's hard. It's very hard. I don't know how the hell I'm going to do the drum back, but
Scar.
See, I can do Scar. But yeah, Sebastian. David Tennant? Well, I don't play David Tennant. There's a Doctor Who t-shirt of me someone showed me where it's it's an artist rendering of David Tennant that looks like me. I'm like, no, it does. Oh, it kind of does. I'm like, he's got the hair and everything, and now that the glasses, I'm like, this was not intentional. I kind of feel like David Tennant's going to think I'm stalking him now. This was my look first, pretty boy. Yes, you.
Me?
Yes, you.
Clowns for president, yes or no?
Krillin for president?
No, clowns.
Clowns for president. Oh, that's a huge no. Clowns will eat me. I hate clowns. God, clowns. Oh. Yeah, me and clowns do not get along. I'm phobic of clowns. I don't know why I keep telling you these people that, because they think it's funny. Look, I'm going to dress up as a clown and sneak into your room. No, don't do it. No, I will be in you. Oh, you're back. How was the TV working? It was really funny. It looked like there was a riot going on.
That was 5 tasks ago.
5 tasks ago. He's a Superman. Yeah. Take a break. Do you need some hair? Just lay down. Take that. Let's see. I see the Mad Hatter hat over there. We'll go for you.
If you had to pick a character to talk to that you play, who would it be and what would your conversation be?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. I have talked to most of them all the time. I know that sounds psychotic, but it's absolutely true. I'm developing a character, and even long after I've done playing one, many of them will kind of stick around in my head. I mean, you never really get rid of them. They come from you in a way, and they kind of go back, and they become a more defined part of your inner life afterwards. And so I will talk to them. It's quite a drive for me to most places because I live in the middle of God's nowhere. And so whenever I'm driving, I just like to, if there's nothing on or I don't feel like listening to music, I will talk to the characters in my head as though they're... I have gone through drive-thrus and ordered in different voices. I'm sure many of you can see this on YouTube of me ordering as 4 different people for each other in the same car and pulling around and reveling in the bafflement of the people at the window when they're like, why? There's only one of you and I have 5 meals and 4 voices. What happened, The characters I most enjoy talking to, just because I think they were I think they're characters that, and this may sound strange, but they're characters who talking to, I kind of learn something about myself, and you do with this with everyone, I suppose. But Kyoya was a lot of fun to talk to. Woo, talking, yeah. Lawrence from Spice and Wolf is and I love talking to Isaac and Miria. I mean,
Yes!
whenever I'm going out or doing something crazy, they're always kind of the devils on my shoulder, and there is no angel in that scenario. But yeah, so I think those are my top three. I'm sure there's a few. There is I should mention the latest character, Okabe Rintaro from Steins Gate. But he's hard to speak to because he's a bit of a pompous ass when he's not crying. And he just wears me out. But I love him, but oh my god, talking to him, you're like, okay, Okabe. Trying to drive. This side of the room, question. I see green hair.
What would you do for a Klondike bar?
I really don't. I mean, they're like, oh, it's a Klondike bar. Do you have one on you, though? Or is this a...
Ice cream?
You maybe. Oh, well, so what would I do for a theoretical Klondike? The answer is nothing. You gotta show me the good, sweetheart. No, that sounded terrible. That's not what I meant. Tell you what, you just keep the Klondike bar and we'll call it. I know it always, look, what do you do for Klondike bar? I'm like, it's vanilla ice cream with the coating around it. I'll, you know what, if you're not gonna give me that one, I'll just go buy my own. Make me do stuff for a Klondike. Commercials. Yes, my lord, you have a question.
What is the history behind your gorgeous blue shirt?
Oh, that's right, I'm wearing this one today. Thank you. I was just commenting on my image consultant's going to be so happy. I bought it at Guess. Like, that's the name of the place. Not like, Guess where I bought it. It's not Guess. They were having a sale, and I'm like, oh, I like that shirt. It was the same day I bought these shoes. And I'm like, that blue will go fantastic with my uranium yellow shoes. And they do, right? They do.
Yeah,
right?
with the purple socks, yep.
Oddly enough, they just kind of work. You can see me in traffic. And I'm falling. So I'm being very safe and stylish. I feel very, very cosmopolitan. Towards the back of the room, I see fuzzy ears and a hood way back in the back. Yes, you.
Well, I'm cosplaying Polo from Special Book, so I was wondering, would you mind doing this, like, a voice as Lawrence as if he was talking Polo?
Wow. It's difficult when I don't have a holo. God, what would he say? It's really hard to do Lawrence, not the voice, but because he doesn't have any like one-liners. You know, he's a monologuer. He's a soliloquizer. He's like, guess what? Gold Louis-O's are worth this many silver trinity coins, and I'm like, what? Economics. I did terrible in school. I don't know. I think I will say one of my favorite moments in to kind of answer your question, to kind of get out of doing this because I'm really terrible at improv Lawrence for that reason because I feel like I can't do it unless Bree.
Where's Bree now?
I know, right? Let's call her on the phone. No, she won't.
Aww, call her.
She won't answer. She's like, no, Tatum, ignore her. I'll call her and she'll be in the middle of breaking into my house. That sounds an awful lot like my cat meowing in the background. I'm not a shelter voluntary. Why does it sound like you're moving the couch? Nothing? What do you want? Well, true story, that's happened. So anyway, my favorite moment is at the end of the one season where they are, after not Chloe, what is the shepherdess's name? I'm blanking. Nora, thank you. Where they left her on her way, and they're standing there, and Holo, all jealous, is like, tell me what you think or whatever, and he's trying to say it, but he waits until the bells start tolling, so he can't, so that she can't hear him, and she's all like, he's like, I love that whole moment, and she like throws the beer stein at him. I love their whole relationship because it's so complex and multi-layered and so real ones. Just like real ones, like it's like really dating a wolf goddess. But I love that show, and I love, as an actor, that's one of my favorite roles. Brina's as well, because it's such a character-driven drama, comedy, fantasy, whatever, that it's just the kind of thing you really, really love to sink your teeth into as an actor because it's so dialogue-rich. But yeah, that makes it very hard to just improvise a scene. I will tell you a really cool story, however, about getting to work on it. Jamie Markey, who directed much of the first season and who wrote all of the adaptations beautifully, I might add. They are some of the best adaptive scripts I have ever encountered as an actor. We were in the booth one night together. She was outside, in the control room, directing me, and there's an engineer with her, and there's a wall of glass between she and I. And I'm, recording in a vacuum, more or less, because I happen to be the first actor recording this bank of scenes. And one of them was where he and Chloe from the first season, that turns out to be not such a nice person, but whom there's certainly there's a bit of romantic entanglement there between Lawrence and Chloe. And you can tell there's this wonderful scene, for those of you that haven't seen it, where they're kind of meeting again for the first time in months, maybe years, and they're talking, and they clearly have a thing for each other. There's clearly a chemistry there. There's a history that, of unrequited feelings. And as they're speaking to each other, they're talking about what they want to do with their futures and what their dreams are. She wants to maybe be a tradesman like him. He maybe wants to settle down and open a shop one day and stop the itinerant lifestyle of a medieval peddler, because it is a very lonely one. And they're saying this, they're basically saying, I love you to each other, but I'm just waiting for you to say it first. They're saying this to each other, and they're couching all of it in these really sublime, backhanded compliments and business terms. And it's so real and so wonderfully written and so subtle that I'm sitting there saying this dialogue. And she, Jamie, who's directing me, mind you, had not yet laid down track on Nora. So I am, as I said, recording in a vacuum. I'm just sitting down and talking and reading the dialogue. Well, Jamie jumps in on the mic as I'm speaking, and we just start not improvising, but rather than just going line by line, we do the entire scene. And she's feeding me her dialogue as Nora, in Nora's voice, and through the glass. So we're having this really weird, impromptu moment, very akin to what it's like being on stage. And so we have this moment where we're looking at each other through the glass and having this conversation. Shop one day, blah, 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 blah. And it got very real and very organic. And what's great about it is that Nick, the engineer, just kept recording the whole thing and went back and all of it fit and all of it worked. And so that particular scene, if you know the one, I remember the one I'm talking about, Jamie and I recorded, or at least my portion was recorded actually playing off of her. And then she went in later and played off of what she got off of playing off of me, which sounds very complicated, but that rarely happens. And so getting to record on that show, there was a number of organic moments like that made it one of the best experiences of my career. So thank you for bringing me up, Spice, and please all of you go and watch it. Treat yourselves.
Yay!